That's like the only way I know.
Yeah, that's what you got to drool.
She called me up and it was 2:04.
Yeah. That's when you know you really sleep. Like I said, what time is it?
Are we live? Rich, are we live? Okay, cool. No, we're on service. We'll start soon. Hey, Josh, you want to fade in some house music while we get people in here, and then we'll fade the band back in? You can fade us all the way out.
Father, we just thank you for this day, Father. We just thank you for the opportunity to come and just be with you and just love on you today. Father, our heart goes out to our families that are not here today, Father. And we just hold this place down for you, Father. Father, in faith and in our hearts, we just ask you, Holy Spirit, come. Lead us here today. In Jesus'
your spirit overpower us. Let your presence rest here. And let your angels sing. Let them sing. Let them sing. Let them sing. And we will join together with all creation and sing your name. You are holy, Lord. You are holy. You are holy. fill the room, fill the room, fill this room. 'Cause we love you, Lord. Nothing else will do. We love you. Have a place in me. Take a seat inside my chest. I love you, Lord. Oh, I love you, Lord. No greater love I find in my search of time. I love you, Lord. I love you, Lord. I love you, Lord. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness? Whose love is mighty and so much stronger? The King of glory, the King above all kings. Who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder? Who leaves us breathless in awe and wonder? The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, that you laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Who brings our chaos back into order? Who makes the orphan a son and daughter? The King of glory, the King above all kings. Who rules the nations with truth and justice? Who shines like the sun in all of its brilliance? The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Give an amen for Jesus.
There's an audience of only one, right? So look, there was only one announcement today. Welcome. I'll try to be like Denise as much as possible. The main thing is the Passover. If you haven't signed up, please sign up. I invited all the ladies from Wellsprings, so they haven't given me the answer yet. So hopefully we'll have a nice little crowd here. Sunday after that. So in 2 Sundays, JoJo will be here. And that's it. So if you put the QR code, Abby, or leave that one up there. But we'll collect tithes at the end of the service, and that's it. So bless you. No children's church today, unless you guys want to go downstairs and clean downstairs. I'll give you a broom. That'll be children's church today. All right, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Short break.
I always believe when I'm writing a song, if I got a piano on it, just a simple one, it allows me to convey myself.
Yeah.
If I come in with too much heavy stuff,
To the one on the throne, wrapped in glory, hallelujah, hallelujah. All of heaven and the earth singing holy, holy. Come and behold him. Behold and fall at his feet and bow to the King of all kings and worship. Behold and see him as Lord, 'cause he's a reward to those who worship. So come and behold him. Come and behold him. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. To the one on the throne, wrapped in glory, hallelujah, hallelujah. All of heaven and the earth singing holy, holy.
There we go. All right. So today I wanted to, it's just us, right? So I want to, hey Bob, you want to sit over here? That way I don't got to look over there. Yeah. I wanted to summarize the first 6 sermons that we had, because You know, I have spent the majority of my life, right, going to church in some way or another, right? But I spent the majority of my life going to church and understanding the simplest and most superficial parts of Jesus, right? You hear stories, right? You hear stories of how he changes water to wine, right? And we think it's cool. And then someone might come later, a couple years later, and say that same story and give you a little bit of perspective, right? And you could do that with any and every story, right? It's almost like every story in the Bible, it could be in itself a lesson or multiple lessons, right? And they're good, right? Those things are good. But what is the purpose? What is the eternal perspective? Like, God didn't come here, like, God didn't do this with us, right? To teach us good lessons, right? Here's an example that just came to me. I think a father teaches his son how to do things for a purpose, because he wants him to take over. He wants him to be better than himself. He wants him to do things greater. I can't say that every school teacher out there has that same drive. 2 + 2 is 4. If you don't get it, that's on you. I'll just give you a D or a C, right? And I think pastorally, right? Just the body as an entirety, my experience over time, and I can only imagine what it was even before then. And look, it's not bad, like I said, right? It's like you have this humongous tree trunk of this humongous canopy of a tree, a maple tree, whatever, and like, in my opinion, it seems like every church I've ever been to in my entire life, my experience, what I've seen, what I've heard, people spend their entire times on the leaves of the outside, sometimes in some of the branches. But when you start touching the core, we mention it, the trunk, we mention it, and we move on real quick, right? Because we all understand carry your cross, but do we teach it to a point where we hold our people accountable to that, right? And if you do, then people get weird and it gets frustrated, or really what it does, it just makes you feel like garbage, because you're like, I'm really messed up, right? And you're like, oh, what do I do in life? And I think, where the most people I'm most frank with in my life are the people in my house, my wife, my son, and my daughter, right? Sometimes I feel, and I'm talking to them, I'm saying, sometimes I feel that they always think that dad's hard. And I am, sometimes, maybe sometimes a little bit too much, but because I'm real with them. I don't beat around the bush. I don't sugarcoat things, because I want them to actually get better, to actually, right, grow. So now, if I were God, I would do that in such a way that would be loving and convicting. Sometimes I could always grow in those areas, right? Convict in a different way and show more heart, right? Because I'm human, I get frustrated sometimes. But I think to not have that conflict, something I learned, I kind of knew this, but I learned it in a PD I went to the other day, professional development. And it's so true in church and so true in relationships and everything. The one thing the lady said, we talked about, if there's no conflict, there's no growing, right? So we don't want to address conflict because it makes us, I don't like conflict. I really don't. I'm good at it because of years and years of being in the positions I've been in. I've had to fire people. I've had to go after people. I've had to put people in jail when I was in the military, but I've never liked those things, right? One of the hardest things to do is to tell somebody that they're a failure and that you're no longer needed. That is horrible, horrible, horrible. I hated doing that. But there's a point in my life where I had to do it. I got good at it and I got numb. And then I had to so I'm not like that anymore, but I wanted to do the life of Jesus because I wanted for us to see what the core of his eternal heart is. Because there's no point if this is just a good book with good stories for good moral values, right? It's eternal. It's an eternal voyage so that never again can a created being say, I don't like your idea, I want to do my own. It's already been done. Do you really want to do that again? Because I don't believe that once eternity comes, then we all become robots. If we have free will now, we will have free will forever and ever and ever. Which means it kind of opens up the Pandora's box to can in a million years somebody say something stupid and decide to do something different? I think that possibility lies there because God allows it to. But I don't think it'll never happen because of this experience. Which makes me wonder, it's just coming to my mind right now. You know who will never, ever want to do this again? Repeat this life again? This human experience again? Is someone who had to die for Christ. Those martyrs that were killed for Christ. They'll be the first ones that will slap you in a million years when you say, let's do something different. I died for Jesus. You didn't. Shut up. You just died as an old man. Be quiet, or whatever, You died in your sleep. I got my head cut off. I can only imagine, right? Because, I find it funny sometimes. I really don't share a lot of my military experiences, but I find it funny sometimes when not funny, I'm just saying, there's a difference, right? When someone talks about, Call of Duty military experience, and I'm in my mind, I'm shut up. You can't, it's a video game. Just, you don't even know what the recoil of that gun feels like, much less what it feels like to actually shoot at somebody, and so then you look at those things and you're so I can only imagine those people that have actually died for Christ in a million years, when somebody with free will would even utter a potential opposition, those people would be are you? Come here. We're the secret council. We're the Gestapo of God's kingdom. Come here. Slap them with fishes. I can only imagine that, right? And so I think when you look at the core of his heart, and when you adopt the message that he wants you to adopt, you will never want to do this sin thing again. Right? Because you're letting sin defeat you on purpose. At least on the outside, that's what it looks like. But then you're defeating it with resurrection. You're defeating it with everything that he says that we're to defeat it, right? If someone asks you for a shirt, give them your cloak. If someone slaps you, turn your cheek. Right? There is an eternal message, and it's a hard one to hear. It's hard. It's difficult. Because we're so ingrained our lives, whether you're 13 years old or 70s, we're so ingrained into a self-preservation mindset that we only know how to live with scraps. Right? And I would argue when people say you can live the kingdom now. I think living the kingdom now is not how people sometimes put it, where it is like you live all the good stuff for the kingdom. You know, this prosperity thing, and I drive this. That's just saying that doesn't happen. But I think living the kingdom now is living like that martyr, his reaction to things, right? When he sees Jesus, when he first wakes up. Or, in Revelation 6, no, not 6. I think it's the fifth seal, third seal, something like that. I can't remember what it was. Right? Because we all talk about, the 666 number and stuff like that, the seal of the enemy. But there's a seal of God. And it says there's a multitude of people that have the seal of God written on them. And man, and then when you see him conquer, when you see him, just take the elation of your most favorite team or whatever, and just multiply that by 1 billion. What the wedding feast will be like. Revelation 19. We read about it, but I think the words, and as much as we read about it, will be a sand pebble. A pebble of sand compared to the oceans of sand combined, of just how much better it would be. So I want to summarize the first 6 messages today, just to go back so that it could sink in. It could sink in, because I don't want to sit here and say, well, this is what I do want to sit here and say. I'm just going to say what I do want to. I do want us to continue to grow. There's no such thing as I've made it. There's no level plateau. Our joy comes when we look in the past and we're like, I can see my growth. Not, why are you telling me I need to grow more? Because even in eternity, it says, for ages and ages to come, we will see the riches of his glory. Right? Even in eternity is eternal growth. It's not like this, we made it, ta-da, we get wings, that's it. I was thinking about this yesterday. It's like, and this leads to eternal rewards, right? There are eternal rewards, and I did a message on eternal rewards years ago. Maybe I should do it one day again. Just all the eternal rewards and what they signify. But there are eternal, like this is a reward system, and it's all based on how we take this eternal purpose of his life, of the entire Bible, but especially his life, and how we apply it to our hearts. So the question this series has been asking, right? For 6 sermons, we've been walking through one question. What kind of hearts can carry resurrection life? Right? And it's not just to believe in resurrection. It's not just to celebrate it, but do we carry it? Right? Do we carry resurrection life? Like, Mark, what are you talking about? Right? To me, resurrection life, like in the most simplest terms, and it was hard, like, this is the way I applied it to my life, if I could be very frank. You get to a point where you don't let the worries of this world bring you down. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's like that one bill that was due 5 years ago. And you took care of it 4.5 years ago, right? But for 6 months, you were freaking out. You know, they're going to take away my car. They're going to shut down my power or whatever. And then 5 years later, you're like, that's nothing. Well, why can't we live like that back then during it? That's how you carry resurrection life. Like for me, like I had to, like, especially through the years of struggle that our family went through, financial, I had to get to the point where I literally got the bills and just did this. I got to the point where I didn't open them. I just didn't open them. Like electric bill, all I could pay is $30. I just sent $30. That's it. You know, and that's that. I went through times, you know, I like to get personal here, so, you know, maybe to the chagrin of my family, but they still love me. They haven't kicked me out yet. I remember years ago, huh? Yeah, they do. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Years ago, this was about maybe 2022, right around 22, 23, somewhere in there. We were at a point where we were short like $900. And I was a diva. I was just a mess. You know, right? Because for me as a man, it hit me as a man, right? I'm supposed to provide for my family. I'm not, right? I'm a pastor of a church. I don't have a job. The church is not paying me fully. I'm washing windows, but it just wasn't enough, you know? And, you know, usually, like me and Christy, we switch roles. When one of us is struggling, one of us is the rock. Right? I was struggling. She was like, we'll get through this. But there came to a point where it was even affecting her because she saw me like I'm supposed to be the one who's supposed to protect her. And now I'm the one who's like, right? And I'm freaking out. And I remember I'm sitting there at our table, like our high top table in the kitchen. And I'm just sitting there. I'm just sitting there, and that summer, or somehow, there was a summer, a chunk of time where Josh was doing a bunch of different jobs. So he had saved up like $800. And he comes down, seeing the pain that we were in, and he's like, Dad, take it. And I don't know if I cried or not, but I told him no. Because he worked hard for that money. Somehow, I can't remember the details, but everything was all right. Things came in, we were able to pay everything. God provided, you know, but, you know, Josh, like, was like, I'm willing to partake in this, right? So, like, that's teaching him something, right? And it's not because I orchestrated it. I was like the worst teacher in the world. I was the one that was like 2 + 2 is 3. And if you don't get that, you got an F. I was that guy, you know. But how do you carry it, right? And even like carrying it, he doesn't expect you to do it perfectly, right? Because you guys know the story. Years later, you know, Katie Sartorius passes away. It's the day of her thing. I'm struggling because, you know, God opened all these doors for me to become a teacher, and then I get told at 8 o'clock in the morning that I didn't get a job. So for an hour, I'm like, you put me through all that stuff for no reason. And then at 9 o'clock, I get called right before her service starts. Hey, you got this job. And I'm like, instead of praising, like, yay, I got even worse. Because I was like, I learned all that stuff for 4 years to rely on you. And I didn't when I was supposed to, right? So that was another learning thing, right? So it's learning how to carry this resurrection heart and looking back and be like, I'm better than what I was 5 years ago. Because the resurrection of Jesus is not something that we just believe happened. It's a life that we are invited to, right? So when we step back and look at the life of Jesus from the beginning, we see something remarkable, right? That he did just not wait until the cross to begin teaching resurrection, right? He modeled it of how to live it from the very beginning. The first sermon, right? The beginning of the heart posture, right? We use that Christmas Eve narrative that I read here in Christmas Eve. And that narrative, focused on the beauty, or normally at Christmas, focuses on the beauty of the manger. But the deeper truth is that the birth of Jesus already contained the shape of the cross, right? He did not enter history unaware of the cost. He came intentionally. So at that narrative, one of the things that I mentioned was that he knew the weight of flesh, the sorrow ahead, and he still came close. And what we see from the beginning in the manger is that the manger was wood, as was the cross, and the cloth that he wore as a baby was the same cloth that he wore when he was dead, right? And it's a symbolic of that the mission that he had from birth to death was the same mission, right? He came to us, toward us, through death, and into resurrection life, right? So he makes a statement of the life that he wants us to live, right? And the heart he wants us to have, the resurrected heart, right? And the lesson that we get from the manger, from his birth, is that love comes close even when it knows the cost, right? That even though there's cost, the heart that he portrays, the resurrected heart, is that love still comes close. The second sermon, right? The heart that accepts the sword. Right, the first prophecy spoken over Jesus was not about triumph, right? It was about suffering. When Simeon, right, goes to Mary and tells her a sword will pierce your own soul. So before Jesus preached, before he healed, before any miracles happened, right, God revealed like the foundational purpose phrase, through action, that resurrection is promised, but suffering is guaranteed. Right? So Simeon, the one who brought that, at least in Luke 2, who was like the focal point of the story in Luke 2, modeled that faith, that watchman faith. And Mary modeled that costly surrender. And together what they show us is that a resurrected heart learns to trust God even under the shadows of pain. So that's still in the beginning. He's still a baby there, right? And these stories are in there in the Bible, I think, to show us this pattern, right? Right. So we look at Simeon, the branches and the leaves of the story are the fact that Simeon was there when he was born. And, how did he know he was there? Was he an Essene? Or was he, those are good stories to talk about. Did he have the calling of the sons of Issachar, right? To understand the time, stuff like that. I mean, that's still part of the tree. It's still getting fed by the tree. But what was the purpose of it, right? The purpose of it was Number one, to identify who the Lord was. And number two, to give the prophetic word of his life to his mom. Right? That being the mother of Jesus was going to be probably the most painful burden put on any human outside of Jesus. Sermon 3. Then we go through 30 years of silence, right? Is that Jesus, we have 3 years of his ministry at the very end, 3.5 years. But we have 30 years of nothing, of absolute silence, right? Luke says the child grew and increased in wisdom and stature, right? We talked about how when he went into the temple, he tells them, like for a second, he goes out of his obscurity and he tells them, this is what I'm here for, write it down. And he goes back, right? And for 3 decades, God hides Jesus, completely hides him. And the reason why is because formation matters more than visibility, right? Nazareth was not wasted time. It was preparation, right? He carried a cross. He carried the tools, right? So before there was resurrection power, there was 30 years of obedience. And that's hard for us to understand because we live in such a culture. We want to be praised. We want to be lifted up. We want to be told how awesome we are. Like we all do. And it's not wrong, right? I think that's a yearning of a son's heart, a daughter's heart, to want to be told that they're loved. Right? So our culture takes that yearning and makes it vile and ugly, right? It's either vile and ugly by trauma, so then we don't want to ever hear it, right? How many times when somebody wants to give you something, we all say no, thank you, right? Or if somebody gives us praise, you guys heard these stories. This is, I think it's funny. I heard it from Bill Johnson years ago, and I always loved it. So whenever somebody tells me, oh, Mark, you did a great job today, I say thank you. Because I used to say, oh, it was all him. It was all him. And I remember Bill Johnson saying, it wasn't all him. You think that he can't do better than you up there? Just take the praise, say thank you rather than saying it's all him. Like, it wasn't the best sermon ever, bro. You did a good job. You weren't Jesus, right? It was a good sermon, but it wasn't the best ever. So, and I think that's just a branch off the fact that we really want to be told how good we are. We just don't know how to deal with it. We have no idea how to we either have too much trauma because we never had it, or the enemy spoils it and we're seekers of it. To the point where there's probably 20 different psychological names for them, I had them on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't remember what they are right now. Egotistical, narcissistic, all these things. It's all about me. Those are all me disorders, right? It's not disorders. It's naturally God puts that in our heart. But Paul talks about that, right? Paul says we are to encourage each other, right? We are to naturally tell each other all the time how beautiful we are, how good we are. But we don't do that because, number one, we've never had it done to ourselves. And now, I'm not saying we don't do that. Some of you are awesome. I think, if it wasn't for your guys' words of encouragement over the years, between the body, it would be hard to do this job, right? Right? Because, up until the building's painted, Most people probably wouldn't want a job in an ugly building. It looks really ugly on the outside. And the inside looks really pretty, but the outside looks really ugly. And most people wouldn't want to be the pastor of a church of 40 people, right? Like, oh, it's not as influential as it should be, you know? But I think when you start to understand his resurrected heart, right? And what he's trying to accomplish, right? The 30 years of obedience taught him how to be faithful with nothing. That's why he says, if you're faithful with the small things, I'll give you big things. If you're faithful with 5, I'll give you 10 kingdoms, 50 kingdoms, right? He's calling us to live a life of obscurity until we're not supposed to live a life of obscurity. But that's counterintuitive to our culture, right? Now, some of us are okay living where we're at, and that's fine, and that's good. Some of us understand this, but some people don't. A resurrected heart is built in places where no one sees. Sermon number 4. This is my beloved son, right? He secures our heart in an identity. Right before he performed a miracle, he said, this is my beloved son, right? Identity came before ministry. Sonship came before sacrifice. And this matters because everything that follows in Jesus' life flows from that moment. Resurrection flows from secure identity. Like, we don't die for something that we don't believe in. No one has ever died for something they don't believe in, right? And I think, right, and it's prophetic when Paul says that there's supposed to be a great apostasy. A great falling away of saints. To me, that tells me there's a lot of Christians that wouldn't die for what they believe in. They say they will. I constantly put myself through this torture. I really do. I put myself through this torture constantly because that's what we did in the military. That's the only way I know how to do it. But how would I act in a moment of the most despicable and heinous evil if it approaches my doorstep? Right? How would I act? What would I say? Right? You guys heard me say a million times, and I think the words can become deafening and dull. Would you renounce Christ if somebody put a knife to your child's head and said, renounce or I cut their head off? After you say it 1,000 times, it becomes like, no, of course I wouldn't. But I take myself into that moment, the torture of that moment over and over and over again. Because I am preparing my heart, right? Because number one, the most important reason is because I love him. But the least of the reasons, the very least of the reasons that carries almost no weight, a little bit of weight, but no weight, is I can't sit here and tell you guys to live like that and me not do it. What a hypocrite I would be. So I put myself, right? And maybe that's why the Lord let me go to the military, right? And I spent the time in the military. And I went through all that stuff because it allows me to process things in a certain way that I prepare myself. Now, does it mean I remember when I was 18 years old, I went to Jamaica on a mission trip. And we were all like, yeah, let's go to the cliff and jump. And we're like, yeah, let's go. And I get off the bus and I go to the cliff and I'm like, oh. It was a 40-foot drop into the ocean off a cliff in Jamaica. It was awesome. But I was like, oh. And then this girl, who's a really pretty girl, really pretty, that was with us, she goes head first. And I'm like, I gotta do it now. But I was like, and I didn't go head first. No, I did go head first because she did it. I was like, a pretty girl that I was like, everybody liked her, right? She was like the pretty girl of the group. So all the guys were like, whatever you want, right? So I go to this cliff in Negril, Jamaica. That's where it was. And I'm like, ooh. And I don't like heights, right? I'm not afraid of falling. I'm afraid of hitting, right? That's why I don't like heights. I'm like, ooh. It took me like 6 minutes of doing this. Whew. Whew. Finally, I was like, and she's like, will you hurry up already? I was like, okay. And I had a neck ache for 4 days because the way I hit the water, my head, I was like, yeah. But then once we were in the water, it was cool. It was beautiful down there. But man, right? But I know me, right? So I know that if I got to face that situation, I got to give myself all the confidence in the world. I got off a bus, never having jumped more than 15 feet, because I used to jump off our second-story balcony down to the grass when I was a little kid. That was the highest I've ever jumped for. That was like 15 feet, right? I used to do it all the time. Whoa, and land. If I did that now, you got to take me to the hospital. But I'd never done that. And that was the first time. I eventually did it. I think there'll be some Christians that will do this, right? But will they go to the gymnastics like I did on that cliff? I mean, I remember to this day, I was like, she's pretty. I should do it. I mean, it took a lot of courage for me to do that, and I did it. So, the answer to that is to remind yourself about your identity, who you belong to. You have to remind yourself. You have to deem yourself worthy to be called that. Right? Paul doesn't say in 1 Corinthians 11 that he makes us chaste and betrothed. Right? He makes us married to him. He takes you as you are. The ugliness, your thoughts, right? He knows your thoughts, your inner thoughts. He knows all those things that if they ever came out, you would go to jail or to a mental hospital. He knows all those things. And he says, I'm willing to clean it, and I'm willing to marry you. Like that. No questions asked. So, that makes you worthy to understand whose son you are. And if you don't understand that, you will never die for him. Never. Sermon 5. The heart that refuses shortcuts. Right? You can have the kingdom without the cross. Right? Jesus goes to the wilderness after he gets baptized. And Satan offers Jesus 3 simple things. Take the kingdom, skip the cross, authority without surrender, and glory without suffering. The 3 temptations revealed the 3 shortcuts. Bread without dependence, faith without trust, kingdom without worship. But Jesus understood that, right? On the face of the cliff, he understood that any kingdom that avoids the cross is not his kingdom, is not God's kingdom. He understood but you gotta have the perspective, right? From the perspective of it all, when God sits there and creates man, and he understands that Lucifer is a little flamboyant with his back talking, right? He understands what he's going to do. And I think from the get-go, God understands the only way to defeat this is with his tool. I have another personal story. No, I'm not going to say that. No, I'm not going to say that. It's not a bad story, but right? So, I mean, imagine Satan, Lucifer, the angel of light. I mean, what could have caused him to go up against God? I mean, do you guys ever think about that stuff? I mean, the God of the universe, the creator, you've seen it all. You've been there. You're probably one of the first ones. You see all this stuff, and all of a sudden, like the idea of like, I'm going to take this on. I mean, that's like Iran trying to fight America right now. Like, it's impossible, right? It's like, it's not a smart decision, right? And well, people would be like, Iran didn't try to fight, well, whatever. You know, you understand what I'm saying. It's just like, it's just, I mean, there's just some decisions that are not smart. And that was probably the stupidest decision of eternity, right? But I mean, what led him to that? Like, what led Satan, right? And if there was no Satan prior to him to influence all those things, that just tells you, you know, the wide range of free will and the beauty of it and the love. It's the ultimate freedom, free will to decide what we want to do. Where he decides to go against the one sure thing, and what God does is asks us to use the penalty of going against him to put that on us so we could defeat the thing once and for all. And the eternal kingdom that God promises that Jesus is going to be here in flesh, and we get to walk with him and touch him. He makes it very clear that that's not worth it if we don't defeat death. And the only way we defeat death is with death. And then resurrection. So then, he's inviting us into the plan. He's taking us into the operation center. And he's saying, this is what we're going to do, right? This is not you sitting at home watching it on Fox News or CNN. No. This is you in the White House. Here's the plan. He's inviting us into that plan, right? So many of us live Christianity like if we're like at home watching it on TV. But he's like, no. Come inside. There's the plan. You're going to be the commander of this plan, right? You're going to take this upon yourself, right? I want you to die for what will ultimately let you live in forever, in eternity. Right? So any kingdom that avoids the cross is not God's kingdom. Resurrection only comes through obedience. Sermon 6, last week's sermon. The heart that learns to die. Follow me and die. So after he gets out of the 30 or 40 days in the desert, he goes and he starts to assemble his team. When Jesus began his ministry, his first invitation was shocking. It wasn't, let's improve you, let's join a movement. It was simply to follow me. That's a little nuts, right? But the fishermen, Simon and Andrew, immediately left their nets. And why? Because Jesus was not recruiting helpers, he was dismantling identities. And in those 3 or 4 scriptures, he dismantles 3 pillars or he dismantles, or he attacks 3 narratives, and he identifies 3 deaths that we need to have to follow him. Number 1 is death to security, right? The nets. right? They left their livelihood, right? Resurrection people trust God more than their safety nets, right? That's death to status, right? The Father, right? So many of us won't do things. Can you imagine even other religions, like in the Muslim world? If you even think about becoming a Christian, I mean, here is just like, I mean, I was told I was stupid and stuff like that, you know, or why are you living like that? You know, it makes no sense, right? So, I mean, for me, like I had to, I'm not saying that I'm like Simon or Peter, but like I had to leave. I don't think I did that for that reason. I wasn't like that clear cut, but I just knew I had to get out of there, and it ended up being the best decision I've ever made. But James and John had to leave Zebedee, their father. You know, the cool thing about it is that their guts to do that eventually led Zebedee to follow them. And he was part of their ministry their entire time, right? But identity rooted in family honor has to give way to identity rooted in your father. Now, that might be easy to follow Jesus if you have no identity in family, if you have no honor in family, right? Because you didn't grow up with it. But then that makes it hard too, because then you don't know what an honor structure with a father is supposed to be like. You don't know what a family is supposed to be like. So the enemy attacks you in multiple ways. And the last pillar he attacks, right? First, death to security, death to status, and then death to certainty, right? He offered no roadmap, only follow me, right? No timeline, no results-driven ideas, nothing. No 401k, nothing. Just follow me, right? Losing the life you built to receive the life God offers is the discipleship heart that he's asking for here. So putting them all together, the pattern becomes clear, right? He's showing us the formation of a resurrected heart, right? That love comes close, right? So far in the core message that everything else springs off of in the life of Jesus, from birth to when he goes after the fishermen, is this: love comes close despite the cost. Faith that accepts the suffering. Obedience that's formed in obscurity. Identity that's rooted in the Father. Refusal to take shortcuts. And discipleship through self-death. Right? Let's put that on a sign and put it outside. Attend church here. Because when you attend church here, these are the 6 things that you will accomplish. Right? I mean, that's not a message that you want to put out if you want to grow in America. It's not true, yeah. You know. But it's God's message, right? Love that comes close despite the cost. Faith that accepts suffering. Obedience formed in obscurity. Identity rooted in the Father. Refusal of shortcuts. And discipleship through self-death. The path, it's not hype, and it's not instant victory, but a slow, deep formation that prepares a person to walk through death and come out alive. So in one sentence that sums up this whole series: Jesus did not just come to teach resurrection, he came to form people who can live it. So the question is not simple. Do you believe that Jesus rose? The real question is, are you willing to walk the path that he walked? Because the invitation still stands. Leave your nets, leave your Zebedee, release your certainty, follow him, and die, so you could certainly and finally really live. Right? I feel like Braveheart there. I feel like Mel Gibson there. Run, and live a little bit. So I'm going to pray. We're going to end service right now. The baskets are back there on your way out. You could, if you have anything to give there, you could give it there. I mean, but I thought we needed a good summary, just to keep us right, because this thing is so deep, and we're just at the boat. We still got like 3 years of material to cover. I don't know what's the timeline between when his ministry. Well, when does his ministry officially start, Phil? Yeah, but what started his 3.5 years? Was his baptism? I don't know. Right? I mean, the Bible is so much that, we have two pastors here. We're like, right? And it's just because there's so much stuff, right? You know what, bro? I'll ask ChatGPT. That was a stinger. Right in the chest. But I really wanted us to just really just go through this stuff because I want us to get it, right? So maybe every 6 or 7 of these we'll stop and just recover, right? So we not understand as motivation. I want it to be motivating in the hardest of words, right? I really believe that this is the surrendering. This is the metamorphosis that he wants us to go through. This is the same metamorphosis that you see in Songs of Solomon, that the bride goes through, right? This is the fragrance of myrrh, right? This is putting on the Garden of Gethsemane over you, right? Because when you understand this, that's how you understand that the Garden of Gethsemane has nothing to do, maybe a little bit, but has less to do with the physical punishment he's about to get and more to do with, is he suffering because the people he spent 3.5 years with still didn't get it, and tomorrow I'm dying. Right? I can tell you from being a very small, insignificant pastor, I'm just saying that to be self-deprecating, that the biggest attack I get from the enemy is that you guys are not getting it. And why don't I have a church with no problems and everybody's doing fine, and rather the church with everybody has problems, we all have problems, right? And I said this to the leadership team because it was a dream that Giovanni from Cuba, who was here a couple years ago. I talked to him, he had a dream, and we talked about a month ago. And he told me, and I told him, we're talking, and he's, I got a dream for you. And what I'm preaching on came about. And he goes, well, this is a dream that I had. And the dream that I had was about your church is being resurrected. And I told him that we've had a lot of deaths lately, from almost Pat to Tina to John to Katie in the last 2 years. And it seems like everybody's going through something right now where we're all dying a little bit, or have gone through something in the last 3 or 4 years where it felt like death. And he goes to me, well, my dream is perfect, because my dream was that your church is being resurrected, and you got to die first to be resurrected. So take that as you will, that spiritual stuff, right? Because before you find life, right? Like before God made me a pastor, he had to put me in the hospital a bunch of times. and one time not knowing. You guys know the story, right? Right? Because I had to get a wake-up call. A spiritual, not even a wake-up call, but I had to face death to really understand life. So a lot of the struggles that we're going through, the hardships that we have gone through, are going through, it prepares you to have a resurrected heart. It's much easier to have a resurrected heart when you go through death than it is to talk about it. Right? So I don't think the timing is coincidence that our entire church is struggling with something, for the most part. Right? Maybe God is taking us through the process of dying so that we can really live. Right? Lord, I just thank you, Holy Spirit. I just bless everybody here, those that are not here, Father. They are the head and not the tail. Father, they're blessed going in and going out. They are loved by you. Father, our identity, we proclaim it to be in you, to be in Jesus. So Holy Spirit, help us surrender. Help us walk. Help us put one step in front of the other. Help us take the worries of this world and just cast it on your shoulders and live free. Holy Spirit, come. Let us be brothers and sisters that stand there and stand the gap and the burdens and take those on for each other whenever you call, whenever you ask. Father, you just open the door so that it's something that it seems like the most seamless thing in the world. But Holy Spirit, help us die our daily deaths. Help us adopt this resurrected heart so we could really live for you, Jesus. Live for eternity. So I pray a blessing over all of you, all your homes. In Jesus' name, B'Shem Yeshua. Amen.